one, and go.
All right. Good morning, good evening, whatever time it is. And welcome to Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, known globally as the greatest Final Fantasy game ever made, bar none. I am going to launch this run, so if we're ready, I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1, go. And Pasu, would you like to introduce yourself?
I can certainly do that. Thank you, PK. Good morning, everybody. My name is Possum Morpheus. I will be playing the role of commentator for PK's wonderful run, and we'll see if we can get past the first boss of the game, the Behemoth. There is absolutely no guarantee that you get through this fight, as is something that you will see throughout this run. There is absolutely no RNG whatsoever in this run. You cannot possibly die to the first boss. That would be ludicrous. Or can you, PK?
Why would you create an intro boss so you can just straight die to? Who would do that?
So yeah, this is Baby's first RPG, but Baby's first RPG punches, and there we go. There's a crit, and there's a crit back. So there's some good play-by-play, because that would have been most likely a death. If not for that counter crit.
Yep, that crit hits for 3 times the damage that you would regularly take or give. So if you take a crit there because you would need to hit 4 times, you actually would just die unless you also get a crit back, which this is technically the fastest opening you can have to this game. But with the lowered health from that crit, I'm going to have to at least menu once.
Yeah, the unfortunate part about taking that early damage is that that PK, or Benjamin, or Flurry, as we will call him for this run, cannot survive a single hit from the first enemy in the level forest, which is the very first dungeon, effectively, of the game. So that's going to require a menu, going to require a cure spell, and it just unfortunately eats a lot of time taking that crit. It's so punitive early on to take extra damage.
And we will get rid of that disgusting health bar menu.
I'm not gonna lie, I will always forever love the names of every location ever in this game.
Look.
I mean...
I am!
This my estimate at 2:15 is 21 minutes slower than my PB, and there is good reason for that. Hey, that's good. I would have used a life cast for a full heal there. There we go, and we're back at it.
And yeah, absolutely no RNG whatsoever. Definitely not taking a second crit already in the first 2 fights of the game. That's not something that happens all the time.
So, you'll see there's a lot of... Come on, Kaylee, you're better than that. There's a lot of interim menuing that you're going to see. There's the... If you see on my secondary character, she has this auto and manual trigger. And possibly maybe if you want to explain, how this works and how we use that in the run.
Sure can. So that manual and auto trigger, basically the way that it works is if it's on auto, you guessed it, the AI will use its strongest perceived move that it can do at that time. Generally speaking, it will use the right move, but it doesn't always. When it's on manual, PK will be controlling everything that the companion character does. So it's beneficial to do one or the other, depending where PK is throughout the run. And goodbye, Kaylee.
Kaylee's mom was like, don't go out into the woods, you're gonna get poisoned. And Kaylee was like, that's never gonna happen, Mom. And then she went out in the woods and got poisoned. And that's basically the whole plot to that. Now we gotta find something to cure Kaylee up as we meet everyone's favorite or least favorite player, depending on if you're watching or running.
Yeah, everybody loves Tristan. And by everybody, I don't even run this game. I just know a whole heck of a lot about it. and I detest Tristan. He's a miss factory. He is very reliable at not hitting the target, and even more reliable about causing wipes for absolutely no good reason to your party. So we'll see if PK can avoid that fate.
And you will see a bit of, I mean, this is going to be the perpetual RNG throughout the run, but this is the first real introduction to, manipulating the game, I guess you could call it, to get the encounters that you want on each of these encounter tiles that you'll see.
Yeah, and encounters in this game are, I would say, organized very interestingly. That there are encounter tables, but there are 8 of them. And so for RTA runs, it's almost impossible to figure out where you are on the encounter table.
Just is on fire right now.
Tristan doing Tristan things. But with those encounter tables, you can pretty much never figure out where you actually are. And on top of that, here's 3 skeletons you don't want. But on top of that, there's also 34 to 128 frame windows within those 8 tables that actually control what encounter you get. So not only do you not know the table you're on, you also would have to have the timing down to a 30 to 120 frame window, which can be very difficult when you have no idea what table you're on to begin with.
Yeah.
It's very awkward, and it's almost impossible to manipulate at RTA. It can, of course, be done TAS, but none of us are TAS.
Yeah, so by manip, what I actually mean is, we just run away and come back and hope we get the encounter that we want. But that doesn't sound nearly as cool as, manipulating.
I mean, I always hope personally that PK manages to manipulate himself into the 1 in 100 level 3 boss fight at the end of this dungeon instead of level 4. It's a rite of passage for Mystic Quest speedrunners, where they get to the first boss and they can literally be one-shot.
Yeah, we're already safe from that, fortunately.
But yeah, you've gotten enough multi-enemy encounters that is not going to occur with this one.
One of the other glorious things about movement through different areas of this game is you'll see there's a text box on the bottom of the screen every time you switch locations, and you can't just hold a directional input as you enter a new room. So if you'll see, I do a lot of switching between manual and auto. If you frame perfect, re-input your down, you can do it that way as well, but thanks, Mistum. That's 2. This is a marathon run for sure already.
Just Tristan doing Tristan things, man. You got to take the good with the bad and just understand that every crit is a non-miss, and every miss is expected.
Oh, I missed the jump! No! Oh,
Wait,
boy.
Where's the good in Tristram?
He
was just
crits
all bad.
sometimes. He crits like every third run.
The
Really?
good with Tristan. The good with Tristan is that he has the life spell. That's all I got.
And then I also did something there called duplicating a seed. Oh, that's dangerous. We are just marathon safe, marathon safe.
You can always dupe another seed, PK.
Yep. There's always more money in the banana stand. So this is our best friend and 100% nice boss, Mr. Flameless Rex.
So one thing you're going to see PK doing here is using Flurry to cast Cure on the boss. Now, you might think, oh, it's undead, why can't we just cast Life? Well, that's not how it works. That would be far too easy. So what happens is the Cure is used as an offensive move. Now, with that offensive move happening, white magic, so things like Cure, and later on in the game, once PK gets it, the Exit spell, they actually use the character's physical attack accuracy to determine whether or not the white magic hits. So just like we see Trista missing a bunch, because that's what he does, that cure spell that you just saw miss is basically decided by the character's physical attack stat, or physical accuracy stat.
Mystic
There's
Quest,
two.
please.
Couldn't go any better if you tried.
You want Flamerous to not target Flurry here. And of course, he's just targeting Flurry over and over again. We're getting sort of into a dangerous... Oh, there we go. We got an empty turn. Is that my last cure? Okay. Let's do that. I do not want to die. Hey, we got some good turns.
And one of the things you'll see with all the different sprites in this game, whether it be bosses or normal enemies, they always have 2, 3, 4, and sometimes 5 different sprites that they'll change into, different kind of designs. So you saw as the Flamerous Rex got more and more damaged, it changed how it appears. Some bosses you can very easily tell how close you are to the end of the boss or the end of the fight based on where they are in their sprite formation. So it's kind of a cool little thing that they did with the game.
Yeah, there are. I mean, the sprite work in this is really cool. A lot of the bosses that we will face in this run sort of turn into random enemy encounters, or, you know, they use a similar sprite. So you will recognize some of our friends that we face. Just you run into them in all sorts of different ways. And here's one of my favorite parts of this game, is that your secondary characters just leave you before you exit the dungeon. You know, in most games like this, you know, it takes some specific event, but in this one they're just like, nope, see ya, I'm out. It's like, you know, dude, we're walking to the same place. Couldn't we just walk this out together?
Yeah, it's basically just how many times can Flurry get left behind by various companions throughout this game? The answer is all of them.
Yeah. They all just
the only
suddenly
time it doesn't happen is basically the very end of the game.
And let's see, we will grab this. There is a shield here that, as far as defense is concerned, is almost entirely worthless. But it does add a slight boost to speed, and we will be coming up on some encounters that, again, if RNG decides to be mean and the game decides it wants to, you will see some just very, very frustrating RPG playing coming up.
Yeah, and you'll hear the term RNG used a lot in this game, and a lot by PK as he describes things, and by myself as well. And the reason for that is this game is extraordinarily RNG heavy, to the point where you can have a PB that is, in PK's case, somewhere in the mid to low 150s, and a realistic estimate that could take 210 to 215. There is legitimately 20 plus minutes of RNG in this game if everything goes wrong that could have gone right. So It's very heavy, and it's pretty much out of your control because, again, like PK was saying, you have that quote-unquote manipulation he was doing of running away. There's very little real manipulation to be done to control the RNG. You can only really manipulate your inventory in this game.
Yep, and even in my 154 whatever seconds, that run, I lost 2 minutes on the very final dungeon to what, you know, a perfect RNG run of that specific floor would have looked like. And that time is third, which if I had gotten that dungeon correctly, I probably would have just burned this game afterwards, but now, I know there's more time to be saved.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things is, it can be a little dangerous to use some of best parts for a game like this because of how RNG heavy it is. But I want to say that there's still 8 to 10 minutes to be made up on the current world record versus the sum of best parts. Like, it's still that RNG heavy in all the various parts. Now, PK has entered into the town of Aquaria, you'll notice a theme that Kaylee was from Foresta, or Foresta, depending how you pronounce it. Phoebe from Aquaria. You might be noticing a theme with the names of these songs, or the names of these towns. Later on, there's a town called Fireburg. You want to take a stab at that one? And and even further on from there, there's Windia. Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, it felt like they were just working title names, and then they just decided, like, whatever, we'll just go with it. These formations have been solid.
I was going to say, getting really good encounters right now.
This is not the good one.
Yeah, if this were the 100% run, this would be fine, because you would have Quake for it. But because this is the any percent run, it's just a bad encounter. You have to use an extra Thunder spell, which is a limited resource.
And that hedgehog just has a chance to take a swing at you, and if you're lucky, you don't have to heal up at all in this dungeon. If you're not lucky, that is not the case.
And one fun recurring theme in this game also, not just being ditched in dungeons, are your friends giving you weaponry and giving you things after you could have used it. So that claw that Flurry just got, that would have been really helpful before he nearly fell to his death inside this dungeon. But Phoebe decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to wait till you nearly die, and then I'll give you this claw. So, just don't do it again.
Yeah, she's carrying a lot of things around that, would make certain aspects of this run a lot easier if she would just hand them over, at earlier moments.
Yeah, Phoebe's selfish. That's all I got. She's keeping all the HP. She's keeping all the levels. Keeps all the good magic, and poor Flurry just kind of runs around with these tiny little bombs, which is really unfortunate because Phoebe's got them too.
Okay, here we are coming up to the Horsemen. I am probably going to dupe some seeds here, depending on the encounter that we get. Nope. Oh, strike first.
So, strike first is uncommon at best for that encounter. The centaurs are basically the worst possible enemy in this dungeon. And it's not because they hit hard or anything like that. One of the recurring themes in this game is that damage is mostly irrelevant. Status effects, super rude. Confuse, awful. Stone, slightly less awful because it kills you quicker. But it's all pretty terrible. The amount of damage things deal, negligible. The statuses they put on you to waste your time and make you die a slow, painful death, that's where they really get you.
Yep. Any one of those encounters, the two horsemen could have confused both members of my team, and at that point, they just are like a trapped animal acting erratically. But, okay, the horsemen were fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've had really good speed from Flurry, actually. He's gone very quickly in most of these fights and avoided being confused, avoided waiting, for all the enemies to take their turns. So it's been good so far.
Oh, we'll have plenty more opportunities, but we got a decent chunk of XP. We managed to go into those horsemen at level 6, which, believe it or not, has a very strong impact on getting that strike first and, just the speed at which Flurry decides to take his turn.
Yeah, and one of the things like that speed factor, that effective agility stat, if you will, for the character, how fast it's going to go, there's an 80 character string attached to each character, whether it be your companion or your individual character, Benjamin, Flurry, etc. That character, within that 80 part string, if you will, has different pieces that determine strike first, different pieces that determine a weight towards how often will they evade statuses, how often will they just kind of shake them off. Will it take him 1 turn to recover or 3? Great speed from Flurry again.
Yeah, this is surprising.
Very good.
And yeah, maybe this fight is pretty straightforward, theoretically.
So this is, in theory, the easiest boss in the game, because Phoebe can solo this, unless things go horribly wrong. She can either use Thunder or use arrows here. Arrows, for her, have a greater chance to crit than they do to actually miss. So we'll see if we can commentators curse that.
Yeah, she's missed in my practice run. She's missed a couple times. Oh, we got a crit!
There's the crit.
Nice. See, at this point, you don't even mind the squid dropping Flurry, just for the mere fact that Phoebe's damage output and the animation on that bow is so much faster. Okay.
But that being said, even had Flurry died, and this is a very important piece for this game, because there's a lot of dying that happens, Flurry will still get XP when he perishes in battle. So that is a very helpful tool where you can effectively use him as a meat shield in many different situations, where he can use his defend ability and basically cover Phoebe from any action, or vice versa. And whoever is doing the most damage can be used to better economize the fights, if you will, and make them go as quickly as possible.
And it has this hilarious dynamic where even on, AoE attacks, they will take the attack, but they won't even take double the damage from it. And we are setting up the beginning of our manipulation. This is the Venus Shield route of any percent. And maybe you want to explain what any of that means.
So the Venus Shield route is the newer of the primary speed runs that is done for this game on any percent. It basically gets you an extra piece of equipment, which has one primary difference versus the old route. It gives you paralysis resist. Doesn't come into play until the hour and 10-minute mark? I forget exactly where Gidra is. And then again in the final dungeon where the Chimeras, which are Gidra Light, as far as that boss is concerned, will inflict paralysis. The Venus Shield route only takes an extra 7 seconds. So to avoid getting paralyzed at any point in the run, for Flurry, you take those 7 seconds, you get that Venus Shield, and carry on.
Yeah, totally worthwhile. There's 1 or 2 toad fights in the tree where technically it might come in handy. Granted, those fights are less likely to be an issue regardless. But as you'll see in the final dungeon area, the enemies, as we've said, love to use status effects, and having your team get turned to stone or paralyzed is, again, infinitely more dangerous than just having to take damage.
And you'll see that PK just did something with his inventory there, and this is going to be a recurring theme in this run. He had picked up 3 heal potions earlier after picking up 3 cure potions. It left him with a couple seeds in his first inventory slot, some cure potions in his second inventory slot, and some heal potions in his third inventory slot. As soon as he picked up those heal potions, he then used all 3 cure potions. When he got to that shop in Aquaria, he bought 0 cure potions. What happened then was he used one, and it basically goes through and it sets it to a value of 255, and then also overwrites the next inventory slot to give him 3 more cure potions. So he started his inventory manipulation, and this is very important because it is what enables the entire Fireberg skip, which is a little sad because it's legitimately the best part of the game if you're casually playing through. But it is the best way that has been found to speed up the pathing through the game.
Yep, you basically overflow your inventory until it gives you specific key items, which, being able to buy 0 something and use it was obviously not a design flaw. That was intentional.
I mean, it's a feature.
Yep.
not a bug, just a feature. There you go. Good recovery. The little blocks here, if you screw it up, you have to leave and come back in and fight all the enemies again. And as a child, when I played this game casually, I messed that puzzle up more than once. And I remember fighting here and leaving probably at level, I don't know, 12, 13, and being like, huh, I can kill everything really easy.
Yeah, you essentially... if you jam one of those blocks into a corner, it's unrecoverable. And fortunately, there's the way that I set that up actually skips one area that is would be required in the vanilla routing.
Good opening here from our friend Snowcrab. Snowcrab is weak to the axe attack. Snowcrab is weak to thunder. Snowcrab has this nasty ability he likes to do. Well, apparently this time he's just going to punch Phoebe in the face, which is not very nice, but his nasty ability is Riddle, which is effectively to confuse. And what happens when he confuses is, we don't want that to happen, but your character would just kind of do whatever they feel like, and it could be to your own party. So Phoebe could thunder your party. Flurry could axe your party. There's the confuse, but he shook it off immediately.
Don't outspeed. Okay. Still looking okay. And you'll notice that Phoebe can just tank all sorts of different damage. And if you saw at the beginning of the game, I had various save files already in play. And maybe, again, if you'd like to explain what that means.
For sure. So basically, it's what's called resistance glitching on your companion. The way it works, more or less, is that by having the companions picked up over time, and saving the files where you have the last character picked up, which would be Phoebe when you get her back to go through the final dungeons and such, she has all of this fantastic resistance. For whatever reason, when you have all your save files with all those resistances on it, and you have them all set to that Phoebe who you pick up later on, it just carries over to a new companion in a new game. Again, we're going to call it a feature, not a bug. But what happens is Phoebe's able to just sit there and be like, oh, you're going to hit me with an ice spell? I'm going to laugh at you. Oh, you want to try to silence me? No, I'm good. She can just shake off all this stuff and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, she just shakes it all off. The game, for whatever reason, it loads it based on, like, your most recent save. Which, it makes no sense, but it really, when you have to try to set up a save file, trying to run through this game without those. Oh, we did it. Alright, that's fine.
Backup strats. No cures. Ooh, good speed. So there's a perfect example of the little Lamia trying to put some sort of status effect on Phoebe, and Phoebe saying, no, I'm good.
Thought I had one more thunder. We came out of that snow crab fight so well that I knew I had at least two bonus thunders. I was hoping I had 3. But basically, any formation that we're going to see for this entire dungeon, if the enemies are all the same, Phoebe will auto-cast the correct spell that will wipe them all out, or bring them down in the instance of 3 of these guys. So anytime that we have to move to manual on a lot of encounters is very slow. In that instance, if I had a thunder, I would have cast it, and it would have only been 1 phase. Instead, we had to manual over to a fire. This is the much better formation in this spot.
Mm-hmm. Other than that squid that you just saw, there is a squid and I believe it's a centaur encounter, which is the nasty kind of horseman enemy that can riddle your party. So it's very nice to get that single squid encounter. The fire just one-shots it. Phoebe always outspeeds it, and that fight ends. With the centaur in there, it just takes a lot of extra actions and time.
And we are now going to get to the part of the run where we start using that defend feature, so keep an eye on Phoebe. She will now Whenever I activate that defense, it's because we want to kill as many sprites as possible in one go, so you don't have to sit through the animations. But bombs will one-shot these eyeball guys, so we just use defend because that's our best option, and we don't have to waste spells. Because at this point in the run, we're still keeping very close track on our magic.
And it also makes it so that there's almost no way, other than some really rare situations, that the defending can go wrong. Specifically with the birds, the only way it happens is they have an attack called Iron Nail, where they can petrify Phoebe and then immediately petrify Flurry right after. Super rare that it ever happens.
Why you
but
gotta
it can,
do
and
this?
there's a blind. And blind is super awkward in this game because, like we talked about before, both the white magic when used offensively and obviously the physical attacks, they're all based off that physical attack accuracy. So when Phoebe is blind, it also reduces the chance that she could use white magic offensively. Because reasons.
Yep, and it's also one of those things. So basically, when you have your character on auto, if either member of the party has any sort of negative status effect, they will prioritize that over attacking. So if she has that blind, I can't use the auto unless I have either healed it up or I can let her use her turn to do that. There's a critical miss from Phoebes. Love to see it, Phoebes.
One of the awkward things about the heal potion or healing spell is that if all of the heal potions get used up, which can happen, and it is done before the end of the giant tree, then the run is dead. Because it screws up the inventory manipulation. So this is part of making sure that those heal potions don't get used. Because really bad things happen at that point.
Wow.
Get dunked on, Flurry.
And black magic can crit from enemies.
Yeah. You can't crit with your black magic in this game, but they can, which is just fantastic. But not all types of magic. Wizard magic will not crit from enemies. Black magic will, and there is a difference. But it looks like PK getting trolled a little bit. The mages, they do a nasty little thing here where they love to cure themselves up. It's not too bad of an issue here because Phoebe can still just combat it with fire, but it does result in extra actions being taken, little bit longer animations, and we're trying to go fast here.
Yeah, it's bonus menuing. In a fight like this, all three could heal themselves before Flurry takes an action. In which case, it's like, okay, that whole round was net neutral. Let's try it again.
Also, one of the things that is going on in this little ice pyramid here that we haven't explained yet is it might look like these are random encounters. However, they are not. Every encounter in here is just like you saw in the prior areas of the game. And in those prior areas, you can see the sprites for the enemies on the maps. In here, there is a magic mirror that you are supposed to pick up, which will reveal all of the enemy sprites. Well, PK knows exactly where every single fight is that he wants to take, and every single fight is that he doesn't want to take. So it would be one extra encounter to pick up that magic mirror, and it doesn't really matter because part of the inventory glitch gets that into your inventory anyway at a later point, so you don't really ever have to concern yourself with picking it up.
And you will notice, we pick up certain chests we don't pick up. This is all 100% deliberate to set our inventory exactly how we need it to be in order to glitch a specific key in order to get that shield that we mentioned earlier from a chest that we'll see after another fun bit of RNG.
And you'll notice that when PK was up on this floor the first time, he jumped down. The reason for that was getting the noble armor. The noble armor, while it is a mid-tier defensive item, there's 3 pieces of armor basically. The noble armor, more importantly, gives water protection or ice resistance, however you want to look at it. That is the important part of it. The physical defense doesn't really matter. Again, the amount of damage taken is pretty negligible throughout the run. But what it does with that ice resistance is it really helps out with the next boss, the Ice Golem. Without having that ice resistance, Flurry would just simply be one-shot every single time he got hit by either a blizzard spell or I think it's the ice cube that drops. I can't remember the name of that. But it would be a really nasty fight without getting that noble.
Yeah, it's already an incredibly nasty fight. Fingers crossed that it goes well. I'm hoping we get level 11 for it, though. I think we're going to be close.
You should get level 11 because there's, 2 more encounters, right?
There's 4 more encounters, actually.
Oh, 4. Yeah, you're fine then. Because you were 8 going into Snow Crab anyway. Mm-hmm. Nice speed tech with the sword.
Oh, yeah. So the bombs are guaranteed to hit. Bombs have a 100% accuracy rate, but their animation is by far the slowest. So if you know that there's only going to be one opponent left when Benjamin finally gets his turn or when Flurry finally gets their turn, you can try to use weapons, and the success rate is... you might see it. we'll certainly get some more misses. We've missed a few times as it is, but okay. Fingers crossed.
It's a good start. There you go. Good speed again. Avoiding every double confuse so far is really nice.
Yep, and part of it, obviously, is it can just completely bork your fight. But just the cast time also takes a while. So it's doubly dangerous, and this is exactly how we want it to go. It's just Flurry just immediately swings, and then we are straight into our best friend. I didn't get level 11.
Yeah, you didn't. That's not great. I cursed you, and I apologize for nothing. It's a big deal because every level that PK gets here on Flurry, the primary character, he gets 40 extra hit points. It sets up for some really weird breakpoints in this fight when he's only at 400 instead of 440. So let's hope that doesn't make too big a difference. This fight has about 6,000 health, and there's a chunk of Flurry's HP taken out by Mr. Ice Golem.
Okay. Stop doing that.
And there's another chunk.
Okay, 2,400, 2,800. Stop!
So the awkward part about that is that Flurry can now die to basically any of the physical hits. And it'd be really nice if Phoebe got hit by literally anything. Like that. That's good.
Yeah, that's ideal. Oh, here we go.
Now the fun begins.
She is just above half, too.
AoE spamming. And the outspeed. This is where things get a little wretched in this fight, is the boss loves to outspeed randomly. And he just loves to just go ham.
Yep, here we go. Okay, so he's like right at 5k.
So you'll see that the Ice Golem here keeps changing his sprite, kind of healing up and then going back. This is all because he's actually healing back that damage that's been dealt.
Marathon safe.
Yeah, I was going to say, PK playing is very safe, taking that cure there. To answer a question from chat, can he not heal himself and let her do more damage? He could, but his heals are super weak. Phoebe's heals actually do meaningful healing. Flurries are going to do, 200, maybe?
Yeah, his heals are weak, and then it's also because his turn is guaranteed to be after the Ice Golem's turn, he could just die. So you want to use the person who typically acts first to heal regardless, because you can at least sort of mitigate what's going to happen. And here we go. See ya, Phoebe. No, that's cool. I'll walk out on my own. Don't worry about it. I didn't just save your whole town or anything.
I mean, at least Phoebe was nice enough to go through, the watery basin and all that with you. She didn't make it quite all the way through the ice pyramid, but that's better than Tristram. I suppose that's a low bar.
This is a very low bar. And yeah, speaking of Tristram, we're getting close to our next meeting with our proverbial best worst teammate, but first we are headed on over to get a spell, and you've probably seen some of these tiles along the way. What are those?
Tiles. Well, the tiles on the world map are things you're supposed to fight to get experience, to get random items, to get gold coins, to get any number of things. PK has not fought any of them yet. The reason for that is this is an optimized speedrun, and none of those are necessary. However, the tile that's coming up is incredibly important to the run. It has the exit spell as the reward. The exit spell is fantastic because it can be used to get out of dungeons when your companions leave you, but more importantly, it can be used to basically make an enemy vacate their position in battle. A fancy way of saying, you make the enemy go poof.
And if anyone's looking for a reason to donate, we like to count how many bad encounters we get here, and then attach some dollar amount to each one. There are 2 encounters you can get here. This is obviously not the good one.
I'm going with standard 6.
And get your guesses out for how many bad encounters. So this is the good one. You can one-shot this with the bombs. The other one, you just run away and you keep resetting. So we're already at 2 before we even got 1 good fight, and we have to get 10 good fights.
And one of the fun parts about this particular tile is that 2 out of every 3 encounters, theoretically, because of how the framing works, should be the single octopus. Or single squid, whatever it is. But that almost never happens. And I've seen PK get, I think, as high as 13 here?
Yeah, I've gotten close to 15. I've also gotten through with 0 in a run that I accidentally soft-locked, of course. But there are just so many ways for your run to go bad. So that Ice Golem fight was not very fast, but I was purposefully not using my traditional super aggressive strats. A terrible amount of RNG on this exit tile can cost you like 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
So the expectation, again, the way basic math works is you should see 3, maybe 4 of these. That was or this is number 4 now, right?
Yep.
So this should be the general upper threshold of what PK should see for bad encounters here.
Well, considering
but he's still
we
got 4 to go.
2.
So that guess of 6 might be pretty good.
Two more to go. 2 more to go.
Ooh.
Ooh, not terrible. Not terrible at all.
Had to go right this run.
It'll catch up to me at some point, I promise.
Here's looking at you, floor 2.
Oh.
Please no.
So another recurring theme that you'll see is the old man kind of floating around and just waiting for someone to talk to him. And PK will try to avoid that at all costs and just leave the old man. Because this poor old guy shows up, right? Flurry's village has effectively disappeared under this mountain that rose up out of nowhere. And, like, his whole family is gone. Everyone he knew is gone. And now he's been displaced to this random, I don't know, Foresta, Aquaria, wherever his new hometown's going to be. He doesn't have one. He doesn't have family. All he knows is this old man that's just, like, sitting around trolling him. And he's like, no, I'm not talking to you. Get away from me. Bad things happen whenever I'm near you.
Yeah, the opening dialogue is basically Flurry going like, what happened? My whole village just got destroyed. And he's like, don't worry about it. We got something else we got to do right now. Say hello to Ruben. Say goodbye to Ruben. Everyone's favorite sandwich. And here we have just the most straightforward fight. First try,
wow.
every time. Every time.
Wow. So, that fight can go horribly wrong in like 12 different ways. That zombie can do a whole bunch of things, like basically put Flurry to sleep a bunch of times. It can petrify him, I believe, if that can happen. It can just end the fight on the spot. A whole number of really bad things occur. But PK got lucky. And not only did he only get physically punched, which did almost nothing, he also got the exit cast to hit. Now, like we talked about before, exit is white magic. So it uses his physical attack stat. So that exit spell is not guaranteed to hit.
We'll take this. These can go sideways real quick. Yep, just like that.
Speaking of sleep...
Nope. just no. Just no. Say no when those encounter. Oh, Tristan, really, buddy? No! Oh, they woke him up. We're okay.
Oh, but Tristan's attack down now. That's awkward, because it means he doesn't one-shot the specters. Yeah. So this is the constant roller coaster.
Okay. So, yep, again, that whole sequence of encounters could have gone 30 seconds faster, 20 seconds faster, which is just the roller coaster ride of good runs versus runs just randomly dying.
Yeah, thankfully though, this spot isn't too bad as far as these encounters. Tristram actually has some merit here because he can one-shot the specters because they are flying and his ninja stars do extra damage. He of course loses efficacy as a character very quickly thereafter, but he's good for this like four battle sequence.
Yep, and there are, for particularly those mummy ones that I was having difficulty with, there are 3 different formations. 2 of them are quite doable, but the formation that features the 3 mummies is just an immediate runaway and restart for me now. I don't even pretend. Just try and take that.
And so PK talked to a giant tree, and that giant tree basically said, no, I don't like you boys. Can we please get someone who can talk to me? And Tristram had the great idea, like, hey, let's get Kaylee. Can't she talk to trees? Which, I mean, she can, but the last time we saw Kaylee, she basically almost died to this random tree. And so they're not certain if she's fully healed yet. They're going to go check on her and see maybe they can recruit her and, you know, bring Kaylee along to talk to Giant Tree Man.
That giant tree's name? Giant Tree.
Following the theme of everything else having ridiculous names in this game.
Yeah, just lazy naming.
So here we get to one of our very brief visits to Fireburg. This is where one of the big manipulations comes in for this. So PK used his last seed, bought 0 seeds, used 1 seed, gave himself 99 of them, and also gave himself 99, I think it's sand coins. He then purchased 32 cure potions. All of this is doing a ton of behind-the-scenes inventory manipulation. TLDR, we're cheating items into the inventory, and that way PK gets to skip all of the Fireberg stuff. Again, it stinks. It's the best town, but now he uses that crest. He warps over to Aquaria and gets to fast forward, 40 minutes through the game?
Something like that. It is also, that is the big way that you make up time versus the original any percent route. Is original any percent, you don't get that warp tile, you have to walk all the way back. So the time we give up going into and out of shops, that is the big way that it only costs 7 seconds.
And hard agree with chat here, Lava Dome theme is in fact fire.
Yeah, everything about Fireberg is fire.
Very well said. So, surprising absolutely... yeah, surprising no one. Tristan's like, oh, hey, I found somebody else to hang out with. I'm gone, dude. And at least Tristan is like, hey, I'll give you this cool item.
Yep. Just been carrying around this claw that you can't use with him, and then guess what? Phoebe stops by.
And Phoebe has this penchant for just kind of like randomly blowing things up and then having to run away because she's trying to make tunnels collapse. She needs to not be handling bombs is the moral of this story.
No, that means she needs to handle every bomb ever.
And so we'll grab Kaylee. We have a bunch of walking to do. Asuka, if you have anything you want to plug.
Actually, I do. We have a new bid war that opened up for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, and you get to name the character. It's an 18 character limit, so you got a little bit of free reign on what you want to name those characters, or that character. So definitely put your money towards that. We still have that costume choice bid war for Shantae, Half Genie Hero. There's 4 options of Beach, Jammies, Ninja, and Officer. They are all tied, so if you want one over the other 4, you know where to put that. Also, we have our Sombrero percent and free HK47 for Snow Brothers and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, respectively. They are both $120 needed to get those goals in, so please do so before you get to those runs. And personally, my favorite is Sombrero percent. You don't want to miss that.
Now, that might have looked like a mistake, but the way the exit cast works is it takes you to the most recent entrance that you've been in. So that's where we eventually want to go. After this fight, which hopefully we get strike first. Nope.
Oh, adventure time.
Okay, please. That's fine.
So this is a fun fight because this is technically in one of the final dungeons, but the enemy in the middle is a Minotaur from basically the first dungeon. The enemy on the left is a ninja from the final dungeon, and the enemy on the right is from the middle dungeons. For whatever reason, that random smattering of enemies is put together to guard the arrow spell, which is very important and will be quite handy throughout the rest of the run. Because the early game enemy is in the middle, that's why the strike first happens so often, is because it runs that enemy's agility versus yours, or speed, or whatever factor you want to say makes someone go first. Unfortunate that PK did not get to strike first there and had to resort to a sequenced killing of enemies instead of just being able to blow them up really quickly.
And so there's going to be a lot of this whooshing sound, and we will see there. This tree is a lot of different encounters. Some of it we will try to do some manipulating, but it's really just up to how lucky I'm feeling when we get to those worms. But here we are almost back to Giant Tree.
Ever so aptly named.
They're just so clever.
But one of the other things that you'll see is that Kaylee is level 31, has 1,280 health. Flurry is level 12 and has 480 health. So, what does that tell you? Not supposed to be in this tree at level 12, y'all. You should have gone through all of Firebird. Should have gone through all of the Lava Dome. Should have been able to slay Medusa and the Twin-Head Wyvern or Dual-Head Wyvern, whichever one is there. And should be like level 18 to 20, maybe even a little higher getting here. Level 12 is super low level.
And so the giant tree just has little evil trees inside of it, which I always enjoy. The giant axe that we see Kaylee wield is actually an item that you can get, but there's really not a huge priority on getting physical attack weapons outside of the final form of bombs. But I always thought when I played this as a kid, that was always my favorite weapon because it just looks so unwieldy.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things that PK kind of talked about earlier was that bombs have 100% hit rate. Things like, let's say, the claw that he's using has +5 magic. The sword has +5 speed. The axe can chop down trees. It doesn't do anything special other than that. Certain enemies are weak to the axe attack, but it's kind of like the forgotten weapon.
Yeah, the lack of a stat boost and the lack of... lovely, buddy.
So there was the first time we got to see the exit spell miss from Flurry. And
the second.
Not once, but twice. So that is the, again, physical attack stat that is being... attack accuracy stat that's being used to determine whether exit will hit or not. One of the other things we forgot to mention earlier was that with those exit spells being cast, the enemies are removed from battle. They don't give XP. That's actually very important to not get too much XP with this route. Because what can happen with too much XP is you end up going over a certain threshold on damage for the very final boss. We're just going to hope that doesn't happen as PK tries to manipulate some double worm fights instead of triple worm fights.
We will see the triple worm fights on this floor and in one or two other areas. It's a quote-unquote coin flip as to whether you get 2 or 3. Obviously, 2 is desirable because you don't have to take any attacks from the worms. But at the same time, you can just reset and continue running and get 3 worms 4 or 5 times in a row, at which point it would be faster to just deal with the actual encounter.
Yeah, this floor is basically worm floor light, because this has only the 2 and 3 worm encounters. There's another floor that will be coming up soon, which has 2 worm fights, 3 worm fights, and then 2 worms and an ooze. They're roughly 1/3 each to appear, but the worm ooze is ever so slightly the quote-unquote rare encounter, where it has, I think it's 12 less frames on the cycle, in order to be that kind of tertiary encounter. But for all intents and purposes, it's just a 1 in 3 shot, and you got to get lucky. And that's yet more of that RNG that's really difficult to manipulate because, again, there's 8 different encounter tables. Good luck figuring out which one you're on and how to manipulate it. And here's the air quote rare encounter right off the bat.
And just for safety, I don't want to take that fight, and I will do these slightly more safely. You could double arrow cast here and hope that Flurry outspeeds a worm, but it's never going to happen. Only when your run is already dead does that happen, and never in a marathon. So we'll switch to Axe with Kaylee on this, because it's just undisputably faster.
Yeah, it's only not faster if she misses, which can happen, but doesn't normally.
Ah, so you know better than to say those things.
Well, I'm just waiting for Ghidra.
No, see, we can't curse Ghidra. unless we randomly show up an hour and 10 minutes into your stream just to curse a great run. It never happens from the start.
Of course
That's
not.
fair. This is nice of them. Again, Kaylee has, at level 31 and with all... Oh my. I thought we were through it. That's great.
So that was an accidental run.
The way to buffer all of these text boxes is by actually using the D-pad. So I do a lot of, D-pad mashing, and if I'm not prepared, something like that can happen. Because there are a lot of just random text boxes that show up when you do encounters, because it'll say what they cast, if that thing's weak to it, what they do, so there's just an infinite amount of mashing that goes into trying to take these encounters quickly.
Yeah, the life of a Mystic Quest runner is how many controllers are you going to go through before you get to your goal in the game?
Yeah,
the answer is a lot.
This is my third, I believe. Third or fourth.
So one of the awkward things about those oozes that PK just fought is they reflect magic. That's why they are particularly annoying to fight against, because if you wanted to do, let's say, this arrow all-tech that he's going for, you literally cannot do it against the oozes because it will just reflect the arrow back.
So the goal of that is if Benjamin outsped one of the worms for once. Otherwise, if the worms get 3 hits, they can easily kill off Flurry without much trouble. But
And one of the things...
Nice.
Yeah, one of the things with this Dragon Claw is it does have the potential to insta-kill. I don't think we've brought that up yet, but that can be used on these oozes, and you're seeing PK go for that with Flurry. Trying to one-shot those oozes to basically get that instant death to just get them out of the fight. The oozes are annoying, more so than difficult. But they do have this nasty little self-destruct thing that they like to do, and just randomly kill off party members.
Yup, and this is just the beginning of seeing those oozes. They are... they're found all throughout the world. Well, particularly in the Zuzu dungeon, but they're a terrible encounter. Or I would say, I guess, just things that reflect spells are terrible. And what are you doing? Sure. So you just, I mean, you'll see the encounter luck in RNG is just starting to get fired up right now. We got a lot more, even, just outrageous encounters.
Yeah, I think my favorite random encounter chains are when you get stuck with multiple of, what is it, the Thanatos and the ooze and the other random enemy in Pazuzu's tower, and it's like, please just go away. You are the worst encounter in the game.
Yeah, the mage Thanatos ooze.
Yes.
Okay, there's some hot speed tech here. You can fall.
How would you know that, PK?
Just an assumption.
And good fight here to get with Flurry down at only 184 health. Get those 2 worms, get him arrowed out with Kaylee, and move on.
And here we come to the ooze, and all of the greatest minds of Mystic Quest have gotten together, and there are unlimited strategies to try to get through these ooze, but none of them are very good.
Yeah, there's unfortunately no way to basically single cycle this fight to end it in one turn without extreme bits of luck, whether that be crits, whether it be instant deaths from a claw attack, whether it be them getting a critical hit on an absorb attack. There's a lot of ways to go through that fight. None of them can end it in a single turn. So That's why the oozes are more annoying than anything else.
Yep, so certain people will use a strategy that involves Kaylee defending, and then you two-phase it just with Flurry throwing bombs. It's fine, but then you have to eat 4 attacks, whereas if you just go all-out attack, you only, you eat maybe 3, and if you're really lucky, 2. But it's safer depending on, when you get attacked, how hard you get attacked, so I have no... there's no right answer in my mind. There's just nothing good about it. This specific encounter is maybe the worst because you have to use Kaylee to drop that skeleton before you can even start doing damage. So I will defend with Kaylee here just to make sure. Because Flurry is in the range where he can get one-tapped.
The awkward part about this encounter as well, and everyone who has ever run this game has done it, when you're trying to single target the arrow on that skeleton, you end up multi-targeting. The arrow reflects back off both of the oozes, and you have a really bad day.
So yeah, if we're fortunate here, as you see, like if they target Kaylee, then we're good. Really, what we're just trying to avoid is having to menu in between combats.
Yeah, and like this went basically perfectly. Flurry at 600 health, Kaylee still well over 1,000, so no menu needed. Because a lot of spells aren't being used, only the single arrows from Kaylee. And we can see on the very bottom right of that spell menu, now PK goes through this very quickly. You saw the number 12 left for the number of arrow spells remaining. So PK knows that he doesn't have to use a seed on Kaylee for quite some time. That quite some time is basically going to be before Ghidra. He doesn't need to use any seeds basically up until then.
Yeah, I don't believe I will have to. It's a marathon. Let's YOLO it.
Words that are music to my ears. PK saying, let's YOLO it. That always ends well.
So it's really not a great strategy to do this. Theoretically, it's slightly faster, but it's only slightly faster if they don't do 400 damage to Flurry and force you to have to cure him anyway.
And the other awkward thing now is Flurry is out of cures. So if PK wants to heal, now he also has to go over to Kaylee's menu, which just results in extra inputs.
And that is how the ooze can absolutely bork you. I could also seed Flurry, but that's probably not going to happen either.
Any double skeleton encounter is great here because it's just one arrow and done. This encounter, not great.
Yeah. I do not have a lot of health. Okay, good. The game loves to just know who you don't want to get targeted. And, while it's theoretically a coin flip, theory and practice in this game are two incredibly different things.
In theory, you should be able to control some of your fate.
In theory, Kaylee shouldn't ever miss. Kales.
So the awkward thing about this also now is that when PK goes back to his menuing for the next fight, Kaylee's going to automatically be on defend. In most fights, you don't want Kaylee defending. So it results in more inputs, all because that miss that happened. So now he has to go from defend to spell, which, granted is only one movement, but still it's extra menuing.
Wish me luck, boys. There is no good strategy for this fight besides basically YOLO arrow casts.
The safe strat oh, good miss, is 2 arrow single targets. But
Hey, oh, wow.
the speedier strat is what PK was able to do there. Now we get to my favorite boss in the game. Ghidra. Honestly, Ghidra, not the worst boss. The skeletons that accompany Ghidra are just so obnoxious if they go before PK. And
That's sort of
wow.
okay. We take that.
Confused Flurry deciding that Arrow is the soup du jour today. And deciding that he's going to do the thing you pretty much wanted him to do anyway. Eventually,
yeah,
might even resist this confuse and unconfuse himself, maybe.
I'm kind of hoping he either dies or gets rid of it on his own, because there you go. So the nice thing about the life potion, and you've mentioned why I don't want to use auto here, but the life potion will cure any status ailments as well as provide a full heal.
Yeah, the life spell has this really weird tag on it where it acts effectively as an Asuna and also a full heal. So it's, I guess, kind of like an in-battle free elixir almost. It's really hard to describe it. Ghidra has actually played pretty nice here, all things considered. This was a weird fight, though.
Yeah.
And it's not over yet. If Ghidra would have outsped there and petrified Kaylee, it would have been a wipe. But Ghidra decided to be a good doggo.
Yep,
and,
I did. That was a little unsafe what
PK
I did there, but I mean, it's Mystic Quest. You gotta take some swings.
Also, the background here, it's supposed to say "Go on, kid," written in little trees. Instead, it looks like it says "Goon Kid."
Yeah, a lot of people will name that split Goon Kid. Giant Tree has walked us over to a new area, but before we get out of here, we are going to actually get Flurry something that makes him the better damage dealer.
And something that is a super helpful spell in, of all places, the final dungeon. But first, the therapeutic sounds of the axe chopping down all of the fungus inside the tree.
As a kid, I would just chop these random things down. I would like clear out this whole area.
Yes.
The thwack.
I hope everybody did that.
Such a satisfying thwack.
And so there is the Meteor spell. We'll mention the Meteor spell a couple times in this run for some various bosses, for some different fights, for a certain enemy that will use it later on, even though it's not named Meteor. We'll get into that. PK purchasing 19 cure potions. Again, this is further inventory manipulation. All behind the scenes stuff. Literally, don't worry about it. Nothing to see here.
Remembering to do that is very important. It's obviously at some point you would just soft lock yourself out of the game if you do any of these things wrong. But then this also gives us access to this warp tile here, which is where this guy's like, "Hey kid, what's up? Want some explosives?" No, free of charge. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So you're supposed to get that, I believe, to clear out the giant rock to save somebody's dad on the mountain. I forget the entire plot of Fireberg, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Is you use that mega grenade, you're supposed to free a giant rock, or move a giant rock, and free somebody, and onward and upward you go.
Yep, and we will see if I manage to pull it off. No, where are you going, bud? Stop doing that. Quick stop over at the temple. That's all part of the manipulation. That's not an accident at all. And speaking of bosses who might destroy a run, here we are again.
Yeah. So this is a fun one. There's not many encounters leading up to this boss. If you know the route. It's what, 5 of them?
It is. I believe it's 5. Yeah.
It is also very important here for Flurry to not randomly outspeed Kaylee. Or, to get put to sleep.
Arrowed all there.
One of the things that starts to happen around this time of the game is every so often, Flurry will just randomly be fast enough now to go before Kaylee. It's one of the great mysteries of Mystic Quest, because he is so vastly and wildly underleveled compared to her. It's like, why would he ever go first? And if he goes first when he casts a meteor, instead of her casting arrow, it throws off an entire fight.
Yep. Because it will kill 2 enemies in one shot, but it won't kill 3 enemies in one shot. And it is probably the longest animation of the game, I want to say. Maybe Blizzard?
I think it's 3.6 seconds. I think another runner of this game, another phenomenal runner called Lamity, who PK displaced to take the bronze medal position in the any percent run. We had sat down and mapped out the cast time for every single spell to try to optimize the game down to frames, not just seconds. Why would we bother to do that in an RNG-heavy game like this? Because we had time to kill, I don't know. But Meteor, basically, long story short, has an incredibly long cast time.
Okay, I think I still have 1 more cast left. Okay, good. These have gone relatively smooth. No, why? Okay.
So that thing called talking that you do.
The game can hear you.
Speaking things into existence you really don't want happening.
So Flurry only has 4 casts of the wizard magic. So we're going to have to seed at some point, but you typically just wait until your damage, your hit point totals get low enough. But we were fortunate enough where, none of the enemies actually really put us in a bad spot there. So unfortunately, we have to just re-menu the same seed that we just did.
Again, it's part of that thing we've been talking about, that recurring theme of the damage usually doesn't matter. It's the status effects. Mm-hmm. Now here's a great boss. This is Dullahan. He's joined by his vampire buddies, but Dullahan has some really cool things that he does. That's my favorite attack in the game, called Head Doomerang. It's an AoE attack where I believe the whole purpose of it is for him to throw his head at you like a boomerang. And I just find it enjoyable. And there it is again. It's a terrible move to get hit by because it does a ton of damage.
Damage to both characters. There we go. Nope, never mind.
And picking on Flurry is actually a bad thing, because at some point Kaylee needs to either defend or seed or do something to help out Flurry so he can get back on the meteor train. If Flurry dies, it really throws off the rotation. He has to use something like Arrow. Now, if Kaylee dies, the fight probably ends, because Flurry never learns the life spell, because you would get the life spell in the Firebird sequence.
So we're not in a terrible spot. We just don't want... Flurry is just a huge glass cannon, particularly for this fight. Oh, buddy.
So that's the dangerous part.
Buddy.
Kaylee got Doom Danced, and now it's full YOLO. So now any attack...
almost over.
Any attack here that does damage kills, so it needs to be the sleep attack that misses. Head Doomerang is not a sleep attack.
There's your wife. Where's Asuka?
I'm here.
Alright. Now we'll stick with this. So, I mean, these are all just sort of races against the clock. Every one of these encounters. This is a terrible start. This is almost over already.
I'm here for this one too.
So again, we could be whatever we're at, probably an hour or something into the game, and we'll lose 3-4 minutes to a boss. Stop it. Stop doing that.
Hidoomerang. Such a good move.
There. Good man.
There are some alternate strats to this fight as well. If you're having a particularly rough day, which PK's on the verge of having with this, where you can do things like defend, you can do things like try to cast heal on the boss. When you try to cast heal, it has a small chance of inflicting things like paralyze, poison, basically making it so Dullahan won't take actions.
I wasted my empty turn. Oh, wow. That's fine. Okay, buddy. You can see me. You can see the clock in my head being like, am I close enough? Maybe. We got the second seed off, so this is fine. Okay, good.
Yeah, once the final form there comes out where he's holding his head like a running back in football would hold the football, 2 meteors will kill from any health breakpoint. So as long as Phoebe can defend Flurry in that case, any 2 meteors will end that fight, and it'll be safe.
The Phantom Down input.
I mean, air quotes safe. Everything is air quotes safe with Dullahan.
Because he could still crit, somehow knock Kaylee down, and then that he would outspeed.
He could very well Doom Dance her, then outspeed Ben, and do any number of things, so...
Speaking of children getting lost, somehow this little girl is my favorite one. See, what are you doing? What are you doing here? Go home. How did you even get here?
And the best part is, like, she knows her way home.
Yeah.
But she's just, like, chilling in this tower, waiting for a complete stranger, by the way, to come tell her, hey, go home.
I mean, didn't you just hang out in regular strange towers as a kid? Duh.
Well, as a trash panda, I would hang out in random strange trash cans, but...
Which are tower-shaped?
I mean, put enough of them together, they could be a tower, I suppose. But we have some particularly annoying fights in this tower. The ooze enemies love to inflict blind on Kaylee.
That was really unfortunate. I'm running into it.
The birds, now they can be lifed because the life spell is broken in this game. If I'm not mistaken, the life spell works in a manner where it will effectively kill living enemies but not work on undead. I think it's actually scripted backwards, and it was fixed in the Japanese version of the game, but never fixed in the American version of the game, if I remember that correctly.
Do the manip. We'll do the manip. Floor 2 manip on the way.
So, Pazuzu's tower. PK talked to Pazuzu. The frame at which the text box is closed, I believe, or it might be when the text box is opened, I forget the exact time. That is when it actually determines which floor Pazuzu goes to. Again, unfortunately, there's 8 different tables that the frames exist in. So figuring out real time what table you're on, to figure out what frame you need, to figure out what floor you're going to get, good luck. If you can figure that out, that is the $1 million question to this game.
Yeah, because as you've seen the run so far, obviously there are some places I could have saved a lot of time, but then you get all the way to here, and you have about a 20% chance of not immediately resetting out if you are going for a PB. Which, fortunately, I am not. You will also see me using Kaylee on auto when she gets blinded, and she will use the heal pots on herself. So I'm not sure if we have one more left. Yeah. She just cure spell herself?
She did.
Huh. Oh, she's below half. Okay, that's...
Yeah.
I didn't think she would prioritize that. Okay.
Yep, she will prioritize healing under half and then the statuses beyond that.
So as we've mentioned, the blind severely decreases the likelihood of successfully getting an attack. And wow, that hit. And we need to use up the remaining heal potions in our inventory because we have one final manipulation that we are setting up for, and we need that inventory slot.
Yeah, and it's also very important before getting the sky coin, I believe it is. No, is it before getting the Thunder Rock or whatever you get from Gidra? There's something in there that if you use the heal potions before you beat Gidra, or before you get to the Thunder Rock, or before you get Mega Grenades, something in that Windia sequence, if the heal potions are used either in the Gidra fight or going through the giant tree, the whole inventory manipulation that's been set up is ruined. I don't know if there's a backup strat for it. I can't assume there's a viable one because of the amount of time you would lose.
I believe there's one. I believe there are heal pots somewhere in Windia. I have no idea where they are.
Okay.
I would just probably reset at that point anyway, because I would be so frustrated. But are you ready?
Oh, I am. So
yeah, go ahead.
We're gonna go ahead and call this the Heckway since we're doing a marathon. You can probably figure out what we would call it if it wasn't a marathon. Slightly less safe than a Heckway, but we like to keep tally of how these fights go because these are brutal. These Manticores love to do a lot of different statuses.
Yep, you can lose to any one of these fights upwards of 3-4 times without the game batting an eye. Because they will outspeed you. You can see the amount of damage that they do to Flurry is basically he can be 2-tapped, and then they can just stone your entire team. And in the time it would take you to try to cure someone up, you really can't make that maneuver because they might just kill off the person that you're trying to use the life cast with.
Getting actually pretty good RNG so far on this.
Not terrible.
Haven't gotten any double petrifies. Haven't gotten any like double quick quakes to knock people out. So,
and you see,
good.
most enemies, Kaylee will act before. For whatever reason, these guys have a tendency to get their turns off before Kaylee can knock one of them down. But okay, through the Heckway. 3-0.
Perfect. You don't see that every day. I've seen you take what was it, 5, 6 one time?
Yeah, I've lost to the Heckway pretty aggressively. I've 2-1 the Heckway beats me sometimes.
So there were some there was a mage that showed up in that fight. We'll get to it in a little bit once we get to see what they do. But those mages have a particularly annoying attribute that they have, which is the Quake spell. Now, Quake is something that we alluded to way back in the game in the second dungeon, basically. Because it would have helped with some worms.
You know what? No, I'm
And
not.
it would deal a couple hundred damage tops.
Stop.
And that's with really good magic casters. Here we go. So, some mage fight you actually want. But these mages will cast Quake. Being friendly so far. But the Quake that these mages use, it does an insane amount of damage. It basically does damage equivalent to what the Meteor spell would do. So it's almost like it's a completely miscoded spell on the part of the game. That is the closest thing to a bug, not a feature, that I would point my finger at. But they are being really nice right now.
Really very nice. Any encounter on here that we can get out of without having to heal is a good encounter.
Apparently they're just being really shy because I've been talking about their broken spell.
All right, just for the sake of it, we'll show this fight. This is... So the reason that you try to dodge this is, A, you can't use spells on the eyeballs. You have a finite number of... Really, buddy?
And so a missed exit spell is really not what you want here.
And if they use blind on Kaylee, which they have a penchant to do, you have to unblind Kaylee outside of combat, which requires just bonus menuing, and again, we don't want to do bonus menuing. But okay. That was fine.
And you may also have noticed that PK is down to 3 bombs. Don't be worried about that at all.
Here we go.
Yeah, so that Quake did 322 to Flurry and 287 to Kaylee. You see the rest of their spells are doing like, I don't know, 50 damage, 100 damage, 19 or 17 to Kaylee. The Quake is just so unbelievably overtuned. There's 32 damage to Kaylee.
Yep.
It does not make any sense as to it being a Quake because of where Quake falls on the actual spell table for the game. So the big theory behind it is that it's miscoded in the game where it should be Meteor that the mage casts, but it's tied to Quake.
Buddy. Buddy, please.
Flurry having issues.
Yep. So I'm actually trying to run out of bombs. Because there's this amazing time save. I was deliberately not taking as many bombs as I might have, just because I love the time save that you can get when you have 0 bombs in the final dungeon. We'll show it off. Mm-hmm. It's the most glorious thing you've ever seen. I'm not overselling it, I promise.
I mean, you can do it here also.
It's true, but I might still want a bomb or two, and we gotta save it. It's funnier when it's from that range. Oh, yeah, that's fine. The Marty life. And there it is. Now we're getting the Quakes. So, and now we're gonna miss that. Okay, lovely. So that does a combined about 600 damage, which if you see all of the other damage we take from anything throughout the course of this run, it is insane, at least, until you get to the final dungeon.
Like, it's on par with the damage that Dullahan, which is a primary boss in the game, did with his head Doomerang attack. That's how overtuned the Quake spell is. But PK was able to pick up Flare, which is kind of a big deal. Flare is one of the best spells in the game, and it now makes makes Flurry even more of a glass cannon.
There we go. So once you have Flare, you can one-phase all of these fights instead of the 2 phases, but if you run up against the eyeball, because he would reflect the Flare, you would either have to change up your strats, or you can do what I just did, which is run away. Come on, Jerkbird. Nope.
No floor
Here
six.
we go. So, maybe you want to describe the different floors and how much... So right here, if I hadn't already reset, which I probably would have reset 2 or 3 times in this run to begin with, this would be the absolute reset.
So yeah, basically there's 5 floors that Pazuzu can appear on. You initially talk to him on floor 3, which, fine, sure. He's never going to go back to floor 3. Well, I guess he actually can, but anyway. You're going to fight him on either floor 6, floor 5, floor 4, floor 2, or floor 1. Floor 7 is the very upper portion of the tower. You don't have to worry about that. And floor 3, that's where you initially talk to him. Don't have to worry about that. Floor 6 is the fastest, because all you have to do is lock that first switch that PK ran up to, and he'd be able to fight Pazuzu right there.
Oh boy.
Not floor 5 either. Floor 5 and floor 1 are basically tied for second best as far as the floors. Floor 4 is not great. Floor 2 is the absolute worst. So PK at this point is hoping to not see this Jerkbird for the entirety of his trip down this tower. Because that means the Jerkbird will be at floor 1, and he can then take it on down there in what would still be relatively a quick fashion.
Yep, so this is why the deviation when you marathon run this is just so high, and why my submission time, is very generous relative to my PB. We would already be part way through the boss of this dungeon if it had been floor 6. So we will see, this is the time.
Yeah, and in a PB run, in a PB attempt, this would have been a reset on Dullahan. If not before that, but Dullahan for sure with 2 wipes there, that would have been game over at that point. So never even would have gotten here. No floor 4. So this is where it gets a little nervy, because now it's a 50-50 chance for the second best floor for Pazuzu and a 50-50 chance for the absolute worst floor for Pazuzu.
So there's a switch on the other. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I was gonna do a $5 for every floor check. So what are we on now? $15?
Yep, that's strike 3.
Yep, 654. Right. I mean, we're gonna check too.
Now, one of the nice...
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the nice things about having to do some extra fights here, at least, is that in later dungeons, Flurry will be faster than he would be in a typical run. So the final floors, there may be more strike firsts, there may be more survivability. It'll be a lot smoother than on what would be a floor 6.
Back to back.
Oh, there it is.
Every time.
Floor 2.
So, there's so many things frustrating about this, but this is again this is a floor that I only know specifically because of marathon runs. Otherwise, you would have reset. So these encounters, they're all terrible. Everything is awful. Because you have to take about 12, 14 bonus encounters just to get to the boss fight. But then you'll see what happens and why this is just so slow for so many reasons. So I hit that switch. Now we gotta go back up. And we gotta take all these encounters. Yeah, okay. You take all these encounters too.
It also does get a little awkward now on the bomb count, because if it's any floor but floor 2, you'd have been fine with those three mega grenades you had left. Yep. With it being a floor 2, it's actually going to be a little bit sketchy, and you may run into a spot where you have to, claw axe down one of the oozes instead of a bomb.
Yep, we might see blinded Kaylee making some physical attacks, and I promise you, it is not fun.
Fun for viewing, not fun for playing.
So Gambit Clown was floor 2.
4?
What was that? Sorry?
How many checks do I officially have to throw down for?
That was 4.
Alright. You got a specific goal or bid war you want me to throw this at?
That is your choice. Oh boy.
Alright.
So we've hit that switch, we have hit the floor 2 switch. Now we have to take all of these encounters. Of which, these I believe are guaranteed to be this enemy formation. Which,
They are, and
yeah.
that's the terrible part about it.
So, ugh.
Yeah, not only do you get the worst floor, you have to fight the most encounters, and just to kick you while you're down, they're literally the worst possible formations. That's the formation that we were alluding to 40 minutes ago, somewhere in there, about it being the worst formation. Because it has that bomb, or excuse me, it has that ooze, which means you can't use spells for AoE spells. It has a guy in there, a Thanatos, that can cure things, which can throw off some of your rotations. And it has a Chimera in there, I think, which also does random status effects. It's just a junk formation.
And that guy doesn't want to be nice. Of course not. So if you'll see, I lost track of the number of wizard spells I'd use, because we are now in this situation where, because you would just reset out of this every single time, I don't keep a very good mental count. So you might see 1 or 2 mistakes come in, and I will fully own up to that. But that's just because I would never be doing this if it wasn't for a marathon.
Alright. So, PK, you're the German speaker here.
Yep.
And I have information that just came in that's in German.
All right, read it as best you can.
Jeez. Well, I'm not sure if I can say the first word because it's in English. It sounds like a swear. Well, D-A-M-I-T. Is it exactly what it sounds like?
It's damit.
Thank you. Damit higher? Etwas. Oh, jeez. Bildung? And die Sache kommt? PK is like, I never want to hear
I don't think we're getting there. I don't think we're getting there.
$2 civilization. So I'm gonna link that.
Well, danke sehr.
And then I put in my 20 for just MQ things.
Stop being rude. I really should be targeting that guy, but this just isn't an encounter that you ever have to take.
Yeah, all of these encounters are encounters you never have to take, except when you have to take them.
So there he is. There's the boss. Now we just go fight the boss, right? If only.
That would actually make floor 2 reasonable.
It would make it, 90 seconds faster at the least. Ugh.
So this is the awkward spot as well, because PK is out of bombs.
Or if you wanna copy paste it into the MSSF runners.
Well, I did get the English translation, and the English translation is so that things get moving.
Ah. Well, much appreciated. So, of course, if you find him on floor 6, he stays on floor 6, no big deal. You just fight. Floor 2, you have to hit the floor 4 or the floor 2 switch. You have to talk to him on floor 2, and then he decides, hey, remember where I was that first time? That's where we're gonna fight this out. So now we have to do this entire walk.
So this is basically the only time when he'll be back on floor 3. You know, where you originally talked to him.
And we will see if the rudeness comes out today.
get ready for one of the potentially worst fights in video games.
Already starting out hot. So this is glass cannon, flurry, call it whatever you want. But then periodically, the bird gets shy.
Hope you didn't want to chip in any damage there with Kaylee.
Yeah, seriously. So when Psych Shield goes up, you can't do physical damage, or you can't do magic damage, excuse me. But that's okay, because we're just gonna seed, and we're gonna wait. And we are just never gonna get to use a spell with Kaylee.
Wow.
So this should be a combination of arrows and flares from Flurry. But nope, never gonna happen. This is
perfect world on this fight. Generally, you want a breakdown of something like 9 flares, 4 arrows from Kaylee, and then an axe hit, or something like that. I think we're at 1 arrow?
We're at 1 arrow.
And a bunch of flares? Arrow. And the awkward thing about this fight is the longer it draws out, the higher the chance of a Doom Dance coming out. Or a Stone Gaze. Into an outspeed. That's really dangerous. So PK got a little lucky there.
Yep, that could have gone real bad. Particularly with only a single target. I mean, he can crit.
He could have sky attacked and killed her.
Yup. Marathon safe, marathon safe! We're getting there, but we're almost out of flare casts again. No. So this is the final phase. This is draw me like one of your French birds. But we're not risking anything here. You can swing with the claw. Oh boy.
Wow.
We could seed, but I think we got the kill here. Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
we could have YOLO'd that. Again, when you're up against this boss going for a PB, this fight could be 70 seconds or it could be 3 minutes. So there's a lot of, you know, if you clamp down and really YOLO that fight hard, you can really get through it fast. Or you can be a coward like I am.
Well, it also helps when Flurry doesn't get targeted or AoE'd.
Yeah.
The first 8 attacks in a row there?
Yeah, I think Kaylee only got direct targeted twice. And here is the final part of our manip. You notice we didn't grab that chest. And we will buy 0 cure potions, but we are not using the 0 cure potions just yet. We talked to Old Man. He says some stuff.
Well, while you're talking to the old man, I have 2 donations that I can say without failing miserably. We have Helix donating $1 with the Bergie emote, so I better see some Bergie emotes in chat because they're super cute. And Lelace has donated $5 saying, thanks for the memories from this game and greetings to the German commentary.
Well, thank you, everyone. Much appreciated. I have no idea what actually transpired during that cutscene, but we opened up this lovely Rainbow Road. And we are making our way over to the ship.
And this time Ruben decided to randomly throw a bomb instead of Phoebe. Somehow it moved a ship from inside a cave where a bomb was thrown. It literally makes no sense how any of it happened. But hey, onward we go.
Something, something, Mystic Quest plot, something, something. Alright, we received the captain's cap. You will see, it's faster to just exit out and then re-enter in almost every situation in this game.
Also, very important to grab the captain's cap. If you don't, you're going to have a bad day.
Yep, been there.
Because then when you go to get on ye old boat, good luck.
So this ship is really like a massive level / dungeon, and you won't get to see very much of it for obvious speed reasons. But if you sort of look around as we're going through this, you know, when I was a kid, I recall just spending a long time in this ship.
Yeah, the ship is particularly interesting because the optimized route through it is, again, like 5 fights. If you are not taking the optimized route through it, this ship here will take like an hour and a half. It's hilarious.
Yep, and fortunately with this flare spell, we are going to go back to our flare defense strategies. For most of these fights, there are 2 encounters that can spawn from these headless dogs. I don't know what. But, well, we got the good one twice, so otherwise you would just see me run away and then run back in, because you just ain't nobody taking on the other fight.
Yeah, the other fight is that one that you had to do a couple times in the tower, where it's that Thanatos enemy, and then it's the Manticore-style enemy, and then also the Ooze. Or the Eyeball, excuse me, not the Ooze. All of which just stink. So you want the fights that are like this, where you can just flare them and be done with it.
Yep, and the only slight advantage of floor 2 is we have more, I believe we have an extra wizard cast, which means if everything goes as planned. But if you see how like massive this ship is, and all we take is just one very direct path, this could get dicey.
Yeah, the advantage to that floor 2 is Flurry is level 21, so he gets an extra wizard cast every 5 levels that he has. So by getting that level 20, Flurry now has those additional wizard casts. It means less menuing, less seed usage, and onward from there.
Where are we at on the timer?
We're at 151 and change right now.
Okay. Apologies.
And as was the case in many early SNES era games, if you will, we get to the part affectionately known as the boss rush that will be incoming soon. Thankfully, there is, a little bit of a cutscene here. Get to have Ruben get healed up. Get to be rejoined by Phoebe. Get some random encounters along the way. But this is Phoebe's final form. So you get her at level 34. What does that tell you? You should probably be, around level 34 at this point. Well, in the speed run, for any percent, you're going to be at like level 18 or 19 at this point. Flurry is at level 21 right now because of that floor 2. So still wildly under-leveled.
Yeah, there's this final boss rush can, again, if your run hasn't already been destroyed, you win the 1 in 5 dice roll. Then you head in here at an incredibly low level, and you're just quite likely to have something destroy you. So we stay at the inn. This guy tells some prophecy, which apparently you have to go through that in order to defeat the final boss, which I always found a little trivial, because it's like, well, don't we just kill it with damage? But okay. Keep your secrets.
And PK, how many Mega Grenades do you have left?
Oh, we have none.
Okay, good.
So, keep an eye out for the hottest speed tech in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. I'll give you a quick heads up. There's a little bit of walking. We got to go through this sand and not buff that, but we will be just getting our way to it here. And 3, 2, 1. Oh my god. Oh my god. Did you see that?
So you'd normally see the bomb animation, but because PK is out of bombs, basically what happens is...
Oh, please.
Wow.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. Basically what happens is the bomb there, excuse me, the stack of bones there just kind of disappears. PK got pretty darn lucky in that fight. Flurry got doom danced. Phoebe got blinded. Phoebe somehow still hit the life cast.
Yep.
While blinded, which again uses the physical attack accuracy that blind is tied to. So Phoebe probably well below 50-50 to hit that. So bravo to Phoebe for showing up for this run.
And here are the doggos. I love dogs. Just love dogs. Absolutely love dogs. Except these dogs.
So again, we talked a lot about status effects. These dogs are so rude. Throughout the rest of this game, the dogs are literally the worst. Again, PK loves dogs. I love dogs. Everybody loves dogs. These dogs are jerks.
And you will note that typically, your NPC, your second character, whatever you want to call it, would be the first one to attack every single time, but then you get into this dungeon and the rules just stop working. It just, nothing matters anymore. It's just all made up.
And we do need to make sure that PK hits every switch here.
I have a penchant to just walk up to it, not hit the switch, because I'll take some encounter, and then have to walk all the way back through this dungeon. I don't know. I may or may not have done that on GDQ.
Yeah, that totally never happened with that run.
Yeah, I have no idea what anyone's talking about. What GDQ hotfix? And here you'll see it's if you lit all and then lit all and then flare on all encounters except for this one. You will kill all 3 enemies with just one phase, but then you'll also kill them all at the same time, which, as I had to slightly change it off for this one encounter, it just saves a little bit of time, but it's something that's relatively new.
And the reason for that, again, it has to do with the spell timings. The lightning spell is actually the fastest spell, cast time-wise. It's something like a 1.2 second cast. It might even be a little quicker than that, whereas the meteor spell that we talked about earlier is over a 3-second cast. So it might not seem like a ton, but if you're adding up, a second and a half per fight, and you have, let's say, 12 fights in here, that's 15 seconds of time, maybe 30 seconds of time that you save just on spellcasting animations alone.
Yep, not to mention the, killing everything in one go. I am so bad at this game. Killing everything in one go also saves you that. And now I get the encounter where yep, okay. I deserve that. So that genie sprite right there, on the right, is my favorite sprite. This is another boss fight that on paper should be the easiest possible fight. As you saw, we used that life potion to kill the last one. Now we are going to queue up an exit spell. But... Yep. And come on. Here we go. In
Adventure
theory.
time.
All right, Ben. All right, Flurry. Don't get stoned. Oh! Yes!
Wow. Oh, these two boss fights have been something else.
Never punished.
Never punished. But as you can see, then in theory, that fight could be 8 seconds long, or... oh my, I am doing terribly at that right now. It can sink itself. Those dogs got 4 chances to cast basically stone, which fortunately they didn't do.
One of the other things, though, in that fight that's particularly annoying is how fast the boss is. And that stone golem can literally drop a stone for 870 damage on Flurry. It will one-shot him. Even after a floor 2, it will still one-shot him.
Ooh, nice. So those are the only 2 bosses. There are 2 more in this dungeon. Those are the only 2 that you can quote-unquote, cheese your way through. We are now coming back to the ones that, those got a little dicey. But we are headed into full dice territory now.
I've never seen this next boss crit Phoebe with its opening fire attack for lethal damage. Not once.
And we haven't seen much of it, sort of with the Dullahan fight, but if you find yourself in a situation where Phoebe gets killed off at the very beginning of a fight, you have to literally just sit there and hit run and just wait for the boss to kill you. So not only does it waste time because you have to try to get out, back into the fight, but you have to wait to get Flurry knocked down just to be able to reset to then try again to see and hopefully not get one tapped again. It's a vicious cycle.
And Phoebe with good speed and good thing.
Boy.
Adventure time.
So the 3-dog encounter is very similar to the ooze. Granted, they don't reflect damage, but there are various strategies that people will use against that involve, covering and what have you. And we'll see how badly I get punished for it on the next floor.
The quote-unquote safe way to take the dog fights is to have one person, and that person being Phoebe, use fire. Because she will outspeed the dogs more often than not. That fire will take a dog out before it can act, and then Flurry can come in with a flare behind it to do lethal damage to the next 2. But that takes a lot of time. Good old Twin Head.
Twin Head. Please no. Okay.
Well,
so you'll see that attack has enough damage to take Phoebe down below half. So if it comes down to it, Twin-Headed Wyvern can just open, outspeed, and you literally have already lost the fight. Even though, we've sort of already, you can still lose the fight in all sorts of different ways.
One of the other awkward things about that is that fire attack. It's magic, right? It should not be able to crit. That doesn't make sense. Well, fun fact. That fire attack can crit. And it does double the damage there of that 742, and it one-shots Phoebe while she has 1,000 plus health, way more than you should need for anything else in the game to this point, and she can still just die in one hit. It's fairly ludicrous.
So this has been going well. Keeps outspeeding, which is a little disconcerting. But we are going up. Why? Why, game? All right.
We're going where?
Okay. You're saying there's a chance. No. Oh, we got it. No way. Oh, that's the only attack I think he could have used that wouldn't have killed.
That and poison were the only 2.
Oh, fair, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Got 13 more hit points than I needed. Got 13 spare hit points. So that is ridiculously fortunate. As you can see, the minute Phoebe dies, Flurry has, at best, 3 turns to stay alive. And we were also out of our wizard spells, so we had to resort to casting Arrow, which is less damage, but okay. Wow.
Better lucky and good, right?
Yeah, or at least just lucky.
So the kind of awkward thing, though, about all of these fights, as Flurry just randomly outspeeds everything, which shouldn't happen, but here we are. The awkward thing about all the boss fights is even though you've gotten through most of them without any deaths, kind of, Dullahan withstanding there, they've all been slow.
Yep.
So that's another thing where, like, even though this could have been a run that just went through floor 6 fairly easily, it still would have been obnoxious pace-wise because of how long all the boss fights took. So yet more RNG piled on top of RNG to just
and
be
this
very
is the
punitive.
floor. This is the floor where I lost, I'd say, easily 90 seconds just to random encounters. We'll see if they show off their true rudeness.
That's a good start.
Yep.
The Chimeras are particularly awkward
Why?
because they have to be dealt with Meteor. They basically laugh at Flare, they laugh at Fire, so it has to be White and Meteor to deal damage to the Chimeras.
The outspeed. So again, you don't want the outspeed there because White is a much faster animation, or a relatively faster animation. Plus Phoebe has way more wizard spells, but this is a marathon run. All we want is to get through these. These are the better dog formations too. 3 dogs get real dicey.
And also, you may have been able to see real quick there, the ninja, it literally came up and said that it didn't do anything. So the ninja was really nice and it just passed its turn, which is not something that happens very often.
It's like, I'm alright. I'm alright. Someone else go. So the shield, that's the 3rd time that the shield has prevented us from taking a paralysis on this floor alone. So 7 seconds, worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, paralysis, even one time, you're looking at 30 seconds. That's 4. Versus the 7 seconds to kill it. So it's awkward though. That Thanatos enemy in the middle, that's the one that's actually curing the Chimera. It basically acts as kind of this spellcaster where it can do anything. It can doom dance, it can try to silence, it can try to blind, it can cure its friends. It does all of those things.
The speed.
Well, this is again where those extra levels come in. That you would normally not have these levels and you wouldn't have this speed. Flurry would be super slow. All the enemies would get their turns. So that is the one benefit of that floor 2, is for this floor it makes things considerably easier and safer.
You can imagine being on a PB pace, getting to this floor, and then just dying to multiple encounters. Flurry, you absolute madman.
So, yeah, yet again, that extra couple levels coming in handy. So he survived with 14 health and 6 health, a couple dreams along the way.
And you recognize that bird from earlier? Jerk Bird. This is Jerkier Bird, Pazuzu 2. This is certainly not a boss I've taken 6 consecutive wipes to in a run or race.
I've seen PK do a run of this where he and his opponent both took 6 wipes to this fight. Completely out of their control.
There we go.
And
there we go.
There you go.
One.
That's one. Literally nothing he can do. Opening
Yeah,
move from the boss, Doom Dance,
And now he
Phoebe,
won't
you're
get.
done.
Now I won't get killed. There we go. So yeah, Drickberg can just decide at any point to wipe out either member with one hit, or he has this glitched Psych Shield move which does 1 damage. So a wide variance, and we are marathon safing that open too. Come on, buddy.
Wow.
You know, that only is supposed to have like a 30% chance of hitting as well, but obviously. Ay.
I couldn't agree with chat more. I won't repeat it, but I couldn't agree with them more.
Okay. Not gonna say anything about how this is going.
What, you mean the fact it's going really well so far, PK?
Well, right now.
Oh, we missed! Yes!
Oh,
Pasu, that was supposed to work.
I know. I tried.
Come on, man.
Who's going for content here?
Oh, boy. Let's sort of YOLO this. Perfect-ish, maybe?
This is great if he doesn't outspeed on the next attack.
It would be a shame if he did outspeed on the next attack.
That I can live with.
Or, you know, again. Oh.
Doom Dance.
Yeah, I mean, the longer these fights go...
Yeah, it just gets really scary.
Yep. Nice!
Good crit.
We might kill in this run. I think we're through? Ish?
Yeah, these two will do it.
Okay, yeah, as long as Phoebe didn't get it, like, absolute crit.
She needed to not get Doom Danced or Pile Drive crit.
Oh, buddy! Okay. Okay, now we're through. Now we're through.
Hey, you leveled up.
So, GG.
You remember your level 23 strats?
I do not.
Yeah, don't get drained.
Fair enough.
I will butt in really quickly here and say that LeanneRock721 did put in a $2 donation for naming the character Knights of the Old Republic 2, and the name chosen is Japanese Restream. So, shout out to Japanese Restream. Gambatte.
So now we have the final boss. Is a ridiculously large amount of hit points. Some very, very powerful attacks. But we have a secret weapon. It's our 0 bombs. Spoiler.
Yeah, 40,000 health this boss has.
Did that cure just do 23,000 damage?
It did.
Oh, we're looking okay. And we're coming up on time. Time is maybe 10-15 seconds from now, assuming everything goes fine.
Assuming there's no drain.
Yep. Okay, and ready. Time.
GG.
Gee,
What did we finish at?
you finished at 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 5 seconds.
Okay, so 2 minutes under, and in basically the longest this run could possibly go. So I do love this end scene, and we did meet the donation incentive, so I will be playing a song at some point coming up. we do get some good music here. This is sort of the Lord of the Rings. Everybody says goodbye. So if there's anything you want to plug while we run through this, Asuka.
Let's see here. I will say, actually, you know what? Let's talk about those alternate language restreams. Use that. All right, Mid-Spring Speedfling 2021 is being restreamed in French, German, and Japanese by our friends over at Baguette Restream, German Restream, and Japanese Restream, respectively. You can find the French Restream at twitch.tv/baguette_restream, the German Restream over at twitch.tv/Germanch, and the Japanese Restream over at twitch.tv/Japanese_Restream. We've worked with each of these groups before. We love them to death, and we are super, super thankful that we have their support once again. So thank you for all of your fantastic work, and yeah, keep it up.
Okay, so now Bad's like, all right, I met some cool people in Tristram, and now I am taking this boat and I'm getting out of here. Deuces. Starts to sail, so happy, and then here we go, end credits. Oh, wait.
But wait, there's more.
Billy Mays here.
What are you doing here? Please leave. Okay, now we're at the end. And so we did meet our donation incentive. I usually play some form of song about sailing at this point. But in honor of the marathon, I will be performing something slightly different. So let me make sure I have the correct outputs muted.
I see trees of green, roses too. I see them blue for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day. It's our sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces
holding my controller. But GG's.
All right, well,
Bravo.
yeah, thank you again, everyone. That's Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Don't try that at home. And thanks everyone for your donations and hanging out. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you to Pk4787 and Possum Morpheus on comms for that fantastic Final Fantasy Mystic Quest run. We did have one more quick donation from Rice89. It was a $10 donation that said, "Love you from Japan." So you have friends all over.
Yeah, well, I know one of the other runners was doing the Japanese commentary, which is really cool. That they were there to explain everything. So shout-outs to shout-outs to all of the foreign language restreams.
GG's again. So sit tight, everybody, and then we'll be getting ready for our next run of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, 80% Glitchless by Sanjin. So hang tight, we'll be back.